Hello and welcome back. This is still the BDTV Breakfast Show, and now we are on to review the front pages of the newspaper this morning on the show. And we're going to be exploring some of the top headlines making the rounds on the dailies this morning. And of course, I've got in the studio with me Mr. Mohammed Akonti, our in-house analyst, to review papers with me this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Elizabeth. How are you doing?
Very well,
Hope
thank
you
you.
had
How was
a
your
very
weekend
was
and holiday?
okay. We get a very long and extended one.
Very long. It's almost a week. It was over a
I
week.
yesterday over a week. What should you say
I
that?
could
But
say
just Friday,
that.
Monday. Okay.
I will look at it like that. So when
Okay.
you have a holiday,
Okay.
the day before the holiday, you already start your holiday. That's
Okay.
usually how it is. Like when
On Thursday. Okay.
yes, so you guys started on Thursday. I can't say me because I was working.
That's what I'm
You guys
saying.
started
I
on
was here on
Thursday.
Thursday as well.
But
So
when you
okay.
have usually like it's a mindset thing. Like when you have a holiday,
Okay. So the day
the day
before
before
you don't work.
you even if you're working, like you're already in holiday mood.
Okay.
So and usually they say that's even
Okay.
the best day because that feeling of knowing that
You're going
you
to an
have
holiday
like a
and an
holiday
extended
just makes you
weekend.
really happy. So instead of
It's
Thursday,
something that I needed to actually be
Friday,
able to explore.
Saturday,
Because
you
I know,
should.
in fact, it was on Friday. I know I worked on Thursday, and then on Friday was even I had something I actually quickly had to be able to do early in the morning. But maybe the only thing I knew that was actually um, quite that quite struck me was that so resuming yesterday, I don't know, I kept until I had to be able to I kept telling myself I kept mistaking yesterday for Monday. I was looking at like yesterday was a Monday, and I have to be able to keep reminding myself today is not Monday, today is Tuesday. And I'm sure maybe the hangover of the extended,
Yeah, it was
no,
like a week.
extended. Remember, it's Friday, Monday, then
So it
together with
was
the Saturday,
Thursday,
Sunday.
Friday,
It's not
Saturday.
Thursday. Why is it
Because
Thursday
your
was not an
mind
holiday? Okay,
it
because
starts
I
from
didn't see
when
Thursday as a holiday anyway.
yes, even if you're working that day, it starts from
Okay,
your
your
mind.
mind. Okay.
Just knowing that it's like a weekend,
Okay.
usual weekend.
So
On Fridays, even if, when you're working, you're kind of happy because you're looking forward to the weekend. So usually, maybe you should do the research. Usually, the day before a day where you're going for leave, or the day where you're going for
a
a
break, an
break
extended
or
week.
a
Okay.
weekend or whatever, that day is always very exciting. It's like you're already looking forward, so you're already in that happy mood. So even if
Okay.
you're working,
Maybe
it's sort of
maybe it's something
it's
anyway.
even more exciting.
So what
than
now happens?
when
What now
you start
happens on
doing
the day, a day before you are resuming? What do people feel? What you now feel like?
exactly. That's
So a
why
day
a
you are
day
resuming,
before you
but
are
we are resuming
resuming, you have
tomorrow.
that
Work
sad
mode again.
feeling.
Sad feeling,
Yes,
okay.
sad feeling, so to speak. That
We are going
overwhelming
back to
feeling.
work mode
It's like when
again,
you're coming
and
back from a leave.
of course, okay.
Even
A
though
day
it's
before
not
that,
like
okay.
you love your job, obviously,
Of
but
course.
just that there's this
Transition
back
again.
again.
I'm going
So
back.
you see how that works, right? You're already
No.
in that mindset mode. Suddenly, it's like well, you're not the one laughing and playing. You're just like tomorrow I'm
resuming
resuming
work.
work. So that's how it is a day before you start.
So what I'm saying, because the question I was ask is, so does that mean that people's productivity dropped?
Yes.
A day, okay.
Yes.
That's why I didn't able to agree because
Yes.
I know maybe I tried to be able to. In fact,
because people
something-
already shut down mentally. Like you're like, oh my god, 4 days holiday break. Like you just shut. Trust
but
me.
you always want to be able to
Look
try
at
to
it. It's
ensure
also like
you
on a
clear your
Friday.
table on a Friday.
It's
Okay?
also like on Fridays
Okay.
when you check in corporate environment.
Okay.
Even while people are working, people kind of switch off like weekend mode.
Okay.
So it starts from Friday, like weekend mode, like please, whatever it is. So yes, you want to clear your table, but it's
you want to clear your
really,
table.
you
still people
you
will still be able to
never
work
really
till.
clear out our tables.
Of course,
That's
I mean,
the fact.
work will always
no
be
one
there.
ever
Like I'm
clears,
saying,
even when you're on a
maybe the
leave.
timelines you needed to be able to complete. Oh, I have these deliverables that I wanted to ensure.
Yes, you will, but
maybe
you're
it
already in
is.
that
But I think the other thing was the
holiday
rain
mode.
yesterday. How? Oh my
that
God!
rain was something.
Did you
It
go through
affected
the road
everyone.
now? In fact, the kind of flood it has created
Flood?
along.
Wow.
Yes, around Ajah to Lagos Shogotedo exists, and then the kind of wind that
it started with the wind.
Was quite. I mean,
close all
windows. So in fact, I think I was in a meeting somewhere around that night. I just heard one very loud bang because within was like a tree that fell off or something. Fell down, yes. Like within our estate. So, but the bang, bah, I don't know what was
and
that.
I wonder if it was everywhere.
But you said dual Lagos because I spoke to some people this morning, from the mainland, from in fact, the suburb of Lagos, like Okoko Michael. I spoke to like a family relation who stays there. And I was even telling me, in fact, the rain was throughout early this morning because the person was actually pushing me. How was the rain? Hope it was not too heavy over there. I was like, okay, did you guys experience the rain over there? And I'm talking about Alagbado.
I think
So maybe it's
I
like
think
a
it
nation,
was
a Lagos-wide
Lagos-wide
kind of a
rain.
thing that happened yesterday night.
Mm.
So of course, we are gradually moving into the rains, and then remember, NIMET has actually predicted, likely floods going to be able to happen. Then I think around beginning of April, and states now needed to be able to do more to ensure that people are warned in flood-prone
everyone
areas
must
to be
really
able to move to
brace up.
islands and to brace up for likely consequence that may likely be able to follow this.
Right. Well, let's see what we have on our. Let's just get into our paper review today. It's nice catching up on what all the things that happened over the weekend. Let's start off this morning with the Business Day newspaper. The big story in the Business Day paper says IMF cuts Nigeria's growth forecast on lower oil prices, warns of tougher times for commodity exporters. Again, we also see a picture from the Business Day Policy Intervention Roundtable, which held yesterday at the George. We see pictures of some of the panelists as well as the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee, as well as the CSMO Deputy Editor and all of that. Then there's also a story on Aso Rock Solar Plant amplifying national grid failure. And I think that let's start from that story, because we know that we have seen a budget that they had
earmarking 10 billion, 10 to 11 billion.
Yeah, billion said that they would
to install solar alternative power. I don't know you're laughing. 10 billion naira on solar. But I think Mr. Bayanga came out yesterday to defend it, because the argument has been like, why should government be at the vanguard, of switching to the alternative power sources? So is that not, and just like what Dipwell, our energy editor here, mentioned about, is it like an indictment on the part of the government because you fail to be able to do what you promised that you're going to do, and that is an indictment, first of all. But that came out yesterday night, and it would be good if you to go to Twitter and listen to what he justified, that this is actually the global standards. Everywhere in the world, they are switched to alternative energy sources. And then if you compare how much they spend on generating power, they spent on public utilities, public power. This is just a fraction of that amount. We're saying that on a monthly basis, the bill runs to about 30 to 40 billion. 30 to 40 million naira that they actually be able to pay. And if you do that on an annual basis and then compare and contrast it with the cost of of installing a solar power plant and other alternative power sources, this is actually the good way to go, because it is going to be able to breed efficiency and it's going to be able to save government money. Of course, there is an element of politicking around it that people are actually complaining about. If it has actually been another person in power, maybe it would have been like, yes, that's a cost-saving measure. So, because of the person of the presidency, and then because of the present situation, or people are not happy with it. But it did a kind of a cost-benefit analysis of what this is going to cost them against if they continue to actually be on the public utility, the public power. That was actually the analysis he mentioned there. But another thing we need to look at here is the only problem would now be like, yes, maybe for efficiency, government may be able to make that. But what message would that actually be spelling out, to average Nigerians out there? First of all, the cost of these 10 billion, for example, to be able to power the whole of the Aso Rock. Then two is Nigerians that could not be able to afford and have actually been at the mercy of public power providers. Especially in the last 2 weeks, I'm sure at the management meeting, one of the forum of discussion that we had was like a question about, okay, what has actually happened to power in the last 2 weeks or in the last 3 weeks? I don't know if I'm able to ask you, but about 60 to 70% of people at the management meeting there actually mentioned that they've actually been able to record a significant drop from what they had, at the beginning of the year in terms of availability. Yeah, we have paltry number of people there who said, oh, it has improved in their areas for some people, but a large number, we're actually talking about this Easter period, this Easter break, they rarely be able to enjoy 3 to 4 hours of electricity on a daily basis. And yesterday, one of the reports yesterday, before the rejoin that came from Kano Electricity, KUDC in Kano State, was that Kano, Jigawa, and Katsina only received 2 hours of power, the whole of the state, of this state, 2 hours of power every day. in the last 1 month. Yeah. KEDC, the Kano Electric Distribution Company, came out with a rejoinder yesterday to say that is not true. But the field report, the Vox Pop that was actually done by the media house showed that a lot of people, a lot of these consumers who are getting these services are actually complaining a very drastic reduction in the amount of supply that they're actually able to receive. So, but as I said, the question there is, the government embarking on this, is it not be able to amplify national failures? Is it not actually sending wrong signals to the people that the government that have promised that, oh, yes, because I remember, in fact, one of the things I was watching yesterday on the YouTube was somebody actually be able to just refer back to during the campaign in 2023 when the president mentioned that if I do not fix power, I don't have the right to be able to come back. Don't return me back to power. You know, there was a particular clip, you know, of that excerpt of what he was actually saying about power is very vital, and because of its criticality, it needed to be fixed. And if a government could not be able to fix power, then it deserves not to be able to return back into.
And now it's trying to fix it with solar.
I mean, maybe solar is the alternative. Bioeconomic, the special advisor was the one who provided justification for it yesterday, but a lot of people will still say, will still be able to feel. That's what the comment of most of the analysts and most of the watchers to say, this is actually a wrong signal that is sending to Nigerians to say, oh, so the government cannot fix this, then there is no end in sight to epileptic power problem that we've actually been having.
Yeah,
except for people to be able to switch to alternatives. Maybe alternative would be, because I know in my area that reduction has actually been drastic, and it was alternative power sources, inverter and solar, that we actually used to actually be able to maybe enjoy the holiday. Otherwise, it would have actually been, and it was quite very sunny. You know, it didn't rain at all yesterday.
Really sunny.
It was really sunny during that period. It was very hot.
It was
exactly.
Hot. It was very hot.
Until maybe at least we recorded the rain. Maybe in Lagos here.
But
some have actually been saying they've been experiencing that. But I mean, that could actually be what the government wants to be able to do. Solarization agenda. Yeah. Maybe is what people should be able to be thinking of right now.
Well, I mean, how many people can afford the solar? I mean, that's a story for another day. Well, let's talk about the other big story on the front page of BusinessDay today. IMF cuts Nigeria's growth forecast on lower oil prices.
So the World Economic Outlook, IMF, that their spring meeting that is going on in Washington was just released yesterday. And Nigeria's, because of global oil prices, have actually been a major trouble spot, you know, for Nigeria's budget realization, the budget provisions realization. Because remember that in the budget, we make provision for $75 to sell the crude oil. But in the last 2 months, the price of oil has struggled, really struggled to be able to cross the $70 mark. So because of that, Brent, for example, which is actually the major dominant basket in that market, has actually been projected to be like about $67. So the 3.5% that IMF predicted at the beginning of the year that Nigeria's growth were likely going to be able to reach, we may not likely be able to achieve that, because the major source that will bring in the revenue is heavily impacted, just like we have said, and that is the oil revenue. So because of the oil revenue and then a little bit of elevated inflation that may likely happen, made them to be able to have that muted prediction as to what the growth forecast will likely be for Nigeria by this year. Yeah, 3.4% was what it, as I said at the beginning of the year. But we know the oil prices do not appear to be able to pick up anytime soon. Not especially with Trump's fracking processes. I'm talking about the oil drilling of oil, the way that they'll be able to supply the market. The supply of US oil have actually been able to affect a lot of players to ensure that the price is struggling. I'm talking about the global oil price is actually struggling to be able to maintain the $75 that we projected. And many other African countries, like Gabon as well, look at Gabon, look at Angola, who have actually been able to project their budget, you understand, on the $70 benchmark. But I told you, as at yesterday night now, the market closed at $67. And that has been maybe $68, $67. Only once has it ever cost, since I'm talking about since March. That's $70 again. And we're even talking about $75. But that was what we benchmarked the budget revenue on, which is 75. So that was what informed them. That was what informed the revision downward to say, yeah, maybe we may not be able to achieve that growth forecast that Nigeria has actually been able to predict. We may not be able to achieve that Um, and then it's in fact it's not only Nigeria alone because the growth forecast will actually be able to be across sub-Saharan Africa, apart from the Middle East and those in the North Africa region. So there was a general downward review, downgrade review of the growth forecast across board.
But
so,
if this also tells us anything, it also kind of it should also warn us or that we can shift. There should be a shift from oil, as a
subsequent
foreign exchange,
major foreign exchange, ENA and export ENA.
We should actually shift. There's tourism. There are so many other parts of our economy
not going to happen overnight.
As they should. I know, but the thing is, if we have been it's an investment. If this thing, like for years, like all my life, all my dad's life, it's been oil. It like a country like Nigeria is so rich in there's so many things that we're supposed to be exploring. We have rich cultural heritage. We should be talking about tourism. We have lovely beaches. We have there are a lot of tourist attractions,
of course.
But these tourist attractions, there's nothing being done. There's insecurity. That even if you want to attract them, right? Aside from the fact that there's poor mental culture, even if you want to attract them, people are thinking, how will I go to that place
where I can actually be kidnapped at any point in time?
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, it shouldn't be overnight, but we have to start now. We've not even started. Wow, we should have started. Even when we started, we don't maintain it. Before it's like something you start. You don't.
You follow it through.
You have to follow it
through. At least you're not. Maybe that's because the reason I'm actually saying that is some previous government. I'm not sure there is no government since the return of democracy that have mentioned this diversification away from oil. Every government have always mentioned, yes, we're going to diversify. Yeah. Is there the political will to do that? That's one. And two, the economic viability of that as well. How viable? Maybe oil is, as somebody actually be able to say, oil money is just like a very it's a dollar money that just be able to flow in. It's a natural resource. You just get it there and then you get those particular resources. I understand. Maybe that is actually because that is actually a major ground that's actually be able to affect our growth forecast.
Right.
Definitely. It has been inflation and global oil price volatility have actually been the challenge why that downward review was actually done.
Absolutely. Let's very quickly, let's see what we have on the Punch paper this morning. It says killings, IG deploys special anti-bandit squad nationwide. And this continues on page 12 of the Punch newspaper this morning. It says bandits strike again and kill 18 in Kwara, Benue, and northern governors talk. I think we're not speaking enough on the insecurity issues. Again, Nigeria's rebase inflation to hit 37% in 2026. Still IMF speaking there. And then emergency rule, Fubara may shift ground after Tinubu's UK meeting. All of the political drama. And then 18 Africans among cardinals to elect new pope. Right? We know about the death of Pope Francis, which passed on at 88. Then flight disruptions likely over NIMET workers strike. They better not strike because there are people that their lives. Should I say their lives depend, or their livelihood depends on some of the trips they have to make. Now, stray bullets kills 16-year-old at Lagos anti-cultism war. This is really sad. That continues on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. Then said Senate lambast Bakare over rubber stamp remark. But quickly, let me just hear your thoughts on the killings and the situation there.
The National Security Advisor was in Benue State yesterday, and we saw some of the remarks that he made. The Benue Plateau and Chitaraba have actually been the flashpoints. They've actually been the hotspot of killings lately. You can be able to see those body bags. In fact, I could not be able to watch them with my kids over the weekend. The bloodbath that took place during this stuff. The Benue governor yesterday mentioned that the people there were not Fulanis, that they are from Mali, according to him. The Reverend Father Ayasit Aliyah, said they are not Fulanis. Some people felt maybe it is just to be able to globetrot, gloating towards to the new Ribadu, the National Security Advisor. But the question there was, and then we know the president also came back on Monday and then gave the meeting he had with the service chief yesterday was when the meeting was actually holding on that the news broke again about the coffee that happened in Niger State, in Minna, where the people were actually killed. The bandits attacked Minna. That's the capital city in Niger, the capital of Niger State, before the coffee was actually was declared. Then Kwara State as well. So North Central generally, I've actually been, just like I said, I've been the hotbed of these troubles. And when you look at the governors, when I look at it yesterday, some of these governors appear quite helpless. Though the president himself, when he arrived on Monday night, placed the blame on them, because he was saying, oh yes, that their security vote has increased by more than 70%, by more than 30%. They've been getting more money now. Their security vote has increased by 70%. Allocation has increased by close more than 100%. These and these and these are what I've actually been doing to the state. So what are they really doing? They collect security votes when they wanted to be able to use police, army for their own benefit, according to the president. So most of the blame of those should actually be placed on their should be placed at the doorstep. But when you look at them, as I said, the governors actually appeared quite bad, and we don't know, because every day now we just keep hearing 11 was in Niger, and that 8 or thereabouts in Benue, and then in Kwara State.
And apparently the killings in Plateau State have reached about 280 plus from January to now. And so that's people dying like flies.
I mean, just like that. And so
we're not talking. Well, I mean, we should. I think I should even rephrase my words. Not talking. We should stop talking. Like, there needs to be action. And now they're telling people to defend themselves.
I mean, the governor of Jigawa State, came out to say people cannot resort to self-help. And the question about self-help and self-defense actually come up again, the two concepts. Because if people should, everybody started defending themselves. So we are saying, okay, should people resort to self-help?
Right.
Which one is this self-defense? Because what Major General Philosopher Dan Juma was actually advising people, especially in North Central, about, you cannot be able to wait on the government, you need to be able to defend yourself. The governor of Jigawa State, no, if you do that, you will just be riling up people. You will just be telling people to harm up themselves. And then the people telling people to carry guns around. So that will not be, there are those arguments out there as to, but what should self-help look like? What should self-defense look like? Should we be able to resort to self-help to help themselves when? Because they cannot just be able to fold their hands and allow people to kill.
How do you defend yourself against armed bandits?
So the only thing is, will you go and be able to harm yourself as well? And if you do that, and everyone started to be able to hold the weapons here and there, what could likely be the outcome of those? So I mean, these are some of the challenges that we are facing. And the president is actually able to give a marching order to the security chiefs yesterday. But it's unfortunate that while that was going on, it seemed there to actually be recorded again in North Central. And we don't even know what could have happened between yesterday night and today's morning. Because before you just wake up, it's just another kettle of fish, another litany of stories you heard entirely of what is actually happening. Something needed to be done, because the security has actually worsened and the heightened nature needed to be checkmated by now. Otherwise, I mean, it's very able to go out of hand.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And that's where we have to bring it to wraps on the review of the papers this morning. Let's see what we have on the cartoon of the day this morning on the BDTV Breakfast Show. Now, that's a table. It's like a feast. And then you see, are those cards? Are those? Is that?
I didn't look cards.
Teddies or that. But what we understand is they're like cats. Are these cats or tigers? I don't know. One of the above. But we can see that they have caps, hats of the different tribes in it. Like you can see Yoruba, you can see Hausa, you can see Igbo, you can see Igbo, and you can see them feasting. They are feasting on Nigeria. That's like the national cake.
That's the national cake.
Yeah, it's national. It's more like the national. It says, "Gentlemen, food is ready. Now, let's say the grace in one voice." So that is all of them different from different parts, but they are feasting. But
they are feasting on the nation. So Nigeria is national cake, and everyone is actually having their knives and their fork, their knives and their cutleries, with their with their plates and glass cups to clink.
It's more like something about wolves in sheep's clothing.
Perhaps. Maybe wolves in sheep's clothing. Because they
have
politicians who claim to represent us.
Lovely outfits of Nigerian attire. Do you understand? But you can see that they are animals. That's the point. So it's literally wolves in sheep clothes, because they are putting on normal human being clothes. Normal, agbada there, this one there. but
suits and
they are not human beings. You can
course.
see that they are animals. So it's like a wolf and then they're feasting on Nigeria. That's a very interesting.
And you know, one interesting thing for me about it here is because if you look at this here, you know, in their own corner of their heart, you know, do they really think like that is what they're actually doing to Nigeria? Do they really see Nigeria? Because if you look at all of them, when they come out, you see the glowing statement, the interest to say, oh, I care for you. I really want this nation to be better. I wanted to be able to do this.
So you're wondering if they actually mean those things.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, when you're able to turn Nigeria into a national
we can't
cake,
say
and
that.
Then,
we don't even know.
What I'm saying is when a lot of people to now cross into that. That's it.
Know.
Because when they are here at the other side of the divide, they're not like that. But when they cross over, when say people who were complaining, oh, this government is that. I'm talking about Benue now. We were talking about the Benue governor. It was a reverend father. And just go and look at the way people were lambasting him yesterday. There was a reverend father that was actually complaining when the past governor was there. Just like you said,
when they cross over to the other side.
That's the problem I mean. What people usually turn to.
Mr. Mohammed Akonji. Who knows if tomorrow you cross over to the other side now?
That's why maybe I just put to God. If that's why I'm going to do that, I never wanted to cross. I never wanted to.
And then you also have your.
If that's what I'm going to turn to, I pray to God I never get to that level. Because I mean, it's just heartless and sheer wickedness. That's what it's going to look like. Yes, if you turn it into like that, and millions of people are suffering, it's incomprehensible.
All right, that's where we have to leave it this morning on the newspaper review and the cartoon of the day. Very interesting cartoon. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Akonji, for being with us this morning. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And that's where we bring it to wraps this morning. Up next is the big story. Do stay with us.